Talking about drama might be difficult. You could question why. Because trauma varies greatly from person to person. Every partnership is unique. Every circumstance is different. You can thus believe that you are alone and that no one can relate to your situation. Although we acknowledge that each relationship is different, there have been victims who have had similar emotions to yours. That being said, we have developed a list of techniques for healing narcissistic abuse and trauma that may enable you to become a better version of yourself, possibly even better than you were in your previous relationship or marriage. We have these holes left by narcissistic individuals, which are difficult to fix but are definitely not unachievable. It is genuinely feasible to rediscover who we are, transform into our former selves, and advance. We are aware that healing from abuse takes time, but we are committed to you. We would want to express our pride in you for making the courageous decision to end an abusive relationship, and for paying attention to our advice on recovering from narcissistic abuse. First thing first, identify and release your self-criticism. After a relationship or marriage ends, one of the first things individuals typically do is place the blame on themselves. If you catch yourself thinking, maybe I should have been kinder to them, or maybe I was the one who abused them, you must realize that you are not the cause of their abuse. Realizing and accepting that you made the correct decision in leaving is crucial. The best way to start the healing process is to acknowledge the real culprit and let go of self-doubt and pessimism. In addition, a lot of victims condemn and hold themselves accountable for letting the relationship last as long as it did. It's also not a good cause to keep thinking those unfavorable things. Remaining with someone you are accustomed to and at ease with makes sense. By recognizing that you are in a position of power rather than being dominated, you are taking the first steps toward recovering from narcissistic abuse. Second tip, acknowledge your own mistakes. Any mistakes you make, no matter how minor, are met with continual punishment in a narcissistic relationship. You are routinely misled into believing that your errors are more serious than they actually are. When you have that kind of mentality ingrained in you, you could find yourself punishing yourself and become afraid of making errors. Appreciating and accepting oneself for your shortcomings is a crucial step towards overcoming the pain of emotional abuse. It's critical to appreciate who you are on a daily basis and to let your errors help you grow into the person you want to be. Healing from narcissistic abuse requires accepting both major and little faults. These errors shouldn't be viewed as dire circumstances. Rather, they can be seen as opportunities to recover from your past suffering. Thirdly, give yourself permission to feel every emotion. Emotions are a complex and challenging aspect of breakups to talk about. In other words, it might be challenging to put into words how you truly feel, particularly if you don't know who you are. It is imperative that you don't ignore your sentiments during the healing process. This seems to be a common behavior among victims who don't want to share their breakup sentiments with friends and relatives. It is crucial to express such emotions, whether by writing, talking to a supportive loved one, or getting expert assistance. It's critical to express these emotions at all times. An excellent way to look at it is that you are at last in a position where you can feel as many emotions as you choose. Therefore, it's critical to let all of those suppressed feelings out. You may at last start to truly heal from narcissistic abuse after you learn to accept every emotion that is going through you, whether it be sadness, rage, resentment, or happiness. It might be challenging at times to process these emotions. After experiencing loss and feeling damaged, you could find yourself in a vicious cycle and harboring bitterness. However, it's acceptable to wake up the next day and begin grieving that connection once more. Any feeling is a positive feeling. It indicates that you are working toward making a full recovery. By the way, if you learned something new today, please subscribe. The fourth is self-care. When someone asks what the best method is to move on after a breakup, they typically receive an answer similar to this. That's because it is accurate. Learning to love and care for oneself is a powerful and crucial step in the healing process from trauma and narcissistic abuse. After experiencing a traumatic event, such as narcissistic or emotional abuse, victims frequently attempt to divert their attention, look for new hobbies, and compromise their well-being. Someone has told you that genuine love can only come from them, so you've forgotten what it was like to love yourself. Engaging in activities that provide you comfort and letting go of things that you have held onto for a long time are two ways to exercise self-care and self-love. Engaging in these pursuits, even if it just means taking a lengthy, soothing bubble bath, will serve as a constant reminder of why departing was the right choice. If your partner consistently ignores the things you like doing, be sure to pursue those interests and do it with delight. Number 5, get expert assistance. Every relationship is unique, as was stated at the outset, and that may be challenging. It's possible that you feel alone and that nobody genuinely gets what you're going through. You can't blame them if, in certain cases, none of your friends or loved ones have experienced the agony of emotional abuse. It could be time to get professional assistance if you have experienced narcissistic abuse, and feel that you need assistance processing these feelings because you are not alone. Some victims find it difficult to make the decision to seek professional assistance because they believe they can handle it on their own or that doing so would be a show of weakness. It takes a strong individual to make the extremely tough decision to seek professional help. Experts can assist by sharing knowledge they have gained by aiding other victims or from going through it themselves. Setting boundaries, avoiding contact with the abuser if at all possible, acknowledging their lowest and highest times, and assisting them in transitioning from low to high are some of the concepts they attempt to instill in their patients. These expert advice and techniques might be the difference between you and the effective recovery from the narcissistic abuse you experienced. Trauma bonding appears to be one facet of narcissistic relationships or marriages that is hardest to recover from. A narcissist and their victim have a link known as trauma bonding. Because the victim begins to have intense sentiments of sympathy and compassion for their abuser, the connection becomes difficult for others to comprehend. Many individuals who have never gone through trauma bonding find it hard to understand why an abuse victim would feel sorry for their abuser, and occasionally develop hatred toward them. Friends and relatives frequently say things like, "Well, I can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves." If you find yourself in a trauma bonding relationship, getting expert assistance might offer the necessary emotional support. Experts are aware of the difficulty in severing trauma bonding as well as the length of time required to dissolve the victim's sense of need and attachment to their abuser. This is the reason it's sometimes preferable to get expert assistance when these emotions are strong, as they could be right now for you. Using your experience to help others is the 6th tip. Since we believe this to be the most crucial, we decided to leave it for last. Wouldn't you want to share a very fantastic thing you've learned with individuals who you think might use it to make their lives easier? The same holds true for narcissistic abuse recovery. You and your loved one have made the first step toward healing by leaving the poisonous circumstance, as we have stated several times throughout the film. The next steps will be a lot easier, but they will also be much tougher than the worst one. You've spent hours researching how to handle yourself after making such difficult choices by this point. It's possible that someone else might not have access to the materials and study you have done. Helping someone who is currently in the same situation as you could be beneficial to you. Maybe they needed that shove to get to where you are today. Before obtaining professional assistance, some victims choose to talk to someone who has experienced similar circumstances because they find it more comfortable to do so. Organizing a neighborhood support group is one way you may assist others going through this difficult time. While you assist them, it might be beneficial for you to hear their tales and advise. It is far better to provide them the sense of community and fresh attachment they require. The victim's journey to rehabilitation may be facilitated, and it may be comforting to know that you are no longer alone. This might improve your chances of recovering completely and starting a new chapter in your life. If you like this video, be sure to like it so the algorithm knows you'd want to see more like it. You can also watch more videos by clicking on these related videos.